Topic 5, Conor McGregor. Of course, we got to talk about the most polarizing, most popular fighter in the history of the sport. And chat room, if you can hit that like button for me, that would be great. It helps out the show tremendously. Also, chat room, one more thing. I want to know, who do you want to see Conor McGregor face in 2024? Because that's when he'll be back. The guys and I are going to discuss this in topic number 5. The sport's biggest star, as mentioned earlier, well, he's back. That's right. He re-entered the USADA testing pool on October 8th. According to USADA, he must be in the testing pool 6 months and pass at least 2 tests before competing. That, however, would make him eligible to compete at UFC 300 on April 13th, 2024. And of course, McGregor's return will have a domino effect in that so many other fighters' careers could possibly be rerouted in 2 different weight classes, lightweight and welterweight. That's how big of a guy, of a star he is. So I want to know about his 2024, but let's go over some of the stuff that happened in 2023. Guys, you might have to help me out. Let me know if I missed any. He coached The Ultimate Fighter earlier this year. Those allegations from something that took place in Ibiza on a yacht in 2022, they came out in early 2023. He had an incident with a young lady in Miami. That was during the NBA playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. No, I'm not talking about the mascot he socked up. That was yet another one. Although I think he just went a bit too far. The guy doesn't know his own strength. He's like Bam Bam from the Flintstones, for crying out loud. But in May 2023, remember he was going to enter the USADA pool then? I don't know. It kind of goes a lot against a lot of the things that involve the Notorious, because he had some quotes this year that just tripped me out. At the Ngannou fight in Saudi Arabia, he says, "I want to fight. I'm being kept from making my living." This past weekend in Saudi Arabia, he was there for the next boxing event. He was saying, "My patience is wearing thin." But again, that USADA thing, holy cow. He needed to get back in the pool before he could fight. Now, going forward in 2024, what's to be expected goes. You're up first.
Dude, if his patience is wearing thin, I can't imagine what our patience is like at this point. We've been waiting a very long time to see this guy come back, because when he comes back, I mean, he does kind of change the sport, but he has done a lot of things outside of the cage that he's constantly in the news. Some of it was bad, George, that you brought up, and some of it was kind of funny. When he got in the ring at BKFC, I thought that was pretty hilarious.
Mike Perry, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're the UFC and you see that, you're probably not too happy. If you're BKFC, you're probably flipping over chairs that you're so excited. But the shove on Michael Chandler, that basically made us all sit there for those weeks and watch The Ultimate Fighter, and kind of gave it a little bit of new life. But that story needs to be continued. It needs to finish. We need to see him fight Michael Chandler. And when he comes back, we'll have to see if he's the same guy. I mean, that injury was super nasty. Like, I don't know. I don't know that he comes back the same guy after something like that. But what he definitely needs to do to carry on this Conor McGregor persona is he's got to win. There's no way around it. You have to win, because there are quite a few fighters out there that now have a little bit of scoreboard over him, and you can only talk so much without actually winning.
Mm-hmm. All right, Mike, how about you, man? In 2024, what do you want to see out of McGregor? How does this unfold? Sounds like he wants to fight. Maybe we get 2 fights out of him, but it can't start till April, at least according to what USADA said. And I believe UFC officials have also said they'd like to continue those 6 months through the new regime, which will be Drug Free Sport International.
Yeah, as they should. That's clearly the right thing to do if you're going to start this kind of road back for him in terms of the testing. Like, ideally, you'd finish it. And I mean, what was the whole point of this if you're not going to, right? Like the press conference that we just talked about in the last segment with Jeff Nowitzki and Hunter Campbell and stuff, they were pretty adamant there that they never actually considered giving him an exemption to come back earlier. Believe that if you may, or if you want, whatever. But yeah, like, this has obviously been a long road for him, and I'd like to see him see it out, but that puts in the timeline of him, fighting maybe at UFC 300, or will he, right? Like, he's clearly very frustrated. That's one thing that you can tell, and it seems genuine. Like, I don't know what was going on with him in Saudi Arabia this last weekend, but when I was over there for the Ngannou fight and he spoke to us on the red carpet, like, you could see the passion and like the desire to fight, and just everything felt very genuine in that moment, and him wanting to get back. And I think then he thought it was going to be April, and then now it might not be till July, and then who knows where it is after that, what they're going to end up doing here. But it seems like there is something going on as far as trying to book this Conor McGregor return. What that is exactly, I don't know. Nolan, I'm sure, will reference his interview with Adi Attar that he had at the World MMA Awards, where he kind of discussed the process that's been in the works. But yeah, I just don't know, I guess, what the delay is in confirming this thing. Maybe there's something going on with the drug test. Maybe they want to wait till this is completely wrapped up. I don't know, but it's clearly not going the way that Conor wants it to, and his frustration is boiling over. We could all say that this was very self-inflicted. He should have just gotten the pool earlier. What was he doing that maybe could have prevented that? Whether it's recovering from the injury, preparing his physique for the Roadhouse movie, which we know changed during that time he was filming. So like, there's a lot that's happened here, right? So, but I think I speak for most people when I say that we do want to see Conor McGregor come back, whether you want to see him lose or see him win. The sport is better off when he is competing, when he is active, all that stuff. Credit to him when you name all those things that just happened in 2023. Like, he's able, without fighting, to keep himself in the headlines pretty much on a weekly basis. And that's something that people used to praise like Floyd Mayweather for during his, later years, especially when maybe he wasn't quite as active. Like, he might not be out there doing these things, but he could still consistently get a headline on his name and feel like kind of the biggest thing in their corner of the sport. So yeah, I just think we're going to get more of this same stuff with Conor until he finally doesn't get a fight booked. Maybe there's a little bit in the back of my mind wondering if we're ever going to get that. But if I was a betting man, I guess I would say we do see Conor fight in 2024. It's just, when exactly is it going to be? The opponent, I don't know. You'd hope it's Michael Chandler, just because you'd feel so bad for the guy if you didn't get it. But Nate Diaz is out there teasing UFC 300. Maybe something makes sense. Adi told Nolan in their interview that he thinks the Dustin Poirier fight part 4 needs to happen. So Michael Chandler definitely isn't the only option, but I hope they do keep good faith with him if they do book a fight for Conor.
You know, before we turn it over to Nolan, Mike, I will say sometimes I wonder, he's got the resources, the money. I wonder if he's ever self-tested and it's just been pulsing nanograms, picograms, or something that just made him uncomfortable along the way, because that delay just killed us. You know what I mean? But the chat room is saying Conor Chandler, according to Mika Reynolds, that's what he wants. No Show 21 says Conor Diaz, UFC 300. So a lot of you are participating with what I asked. Crisco Wild says, I'd rather see Conor versus Chandler. No Show, no. He says Nate Diaz, 100%. Let's see, Mika Reynolds, Diaz and Chandler, both potentially tough matchups. Maybe Diaz slightly better. And Mike, like you said, man, the Poirier matchup, if they did it again, who's going to turn that one down? Conor versus Gaethje would be cool. Lots of stuff here. Nolan, you did get a chance to talk with his manager, and of course, you haven't weighed in on this topic, but what do you think, man, happens in 2024 with the Notorious?
Yeah, I think he certainly fights again. I think it will probably be against Michael Chandler. Really, the only thing that could intercept that is what you mentioned just now, which would be Nate Diaz. I think, that's one everybody involved, right? Dana, Conor, Nate, managers, media, training partners, whatever, fans have always said needs to happen. So that will have to happen. Hopefully it's not, the geriatric trilogy that we saw between Chuck Liddell and Tito. Hopefully it's not 15 years from now that Oscar De La Hoya is promoting the trilogy fight. So if the UFC feels that this is the only opportunity, to get that done, then maybe Michael Chandler will be pushed out. But I have a feeling, just with the way that things have been going, for him to be essentially voluntarily out like a year for no reason, Michael Chandler, it would be pretty screwed up to go back on that now. They must have some sort of understanding with him behind the scenes, unless he's just telling them he doesn't want to fight anybody else. He's going to wait for the chance. But I have a hard time believing that. So I believe we will see him fight in 2024. It will probably be after that April date. I would assume that the UFC's kind of said that multiple times now, that they're still going to do the 6 months. So again, will they go back on it? I don't necessarily get that feel. So I think we'll see him. Mike said, who knows when? Nobody knows. I still have that feeling that it will be Michael Chandler.
It's got to be. I just think it's got to be. We've waited too long. He's in the pool, and a lot of money to be made. Last question for you guys. We went a little long. Hopefully you guys can hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, because that's what we do here at MMA Junkie. We always over-deliver. If he wins, guys, whoever he fights, if he wins, does he walk into a title shot? Goes?
I mean, it wouldn't be shocking, right? Things like that do tend to happen, but I'm gonna lean towards no.
Mike?
I guess it depends what's going on. I'll say no, but man, if they get an opportunity to do Connor and Islam Makhachev, that's just probably going to be a little too difficult for them to turn their nose up at. So I'm going to say no, just because predicting Connor to get a fight, win a fight, and then do another fight feels like a little bit too much to take on right now. Let's just get him one fight and see if he wins it.
Nolan?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I think even regardless of what happens a year from now, like that fight, even if it's going to happen, won't have happened. So can Connor make 155? I'm not really sure. But Mike's hit it on the head. I mean, the Islam fight would be scenes, absolute spectacle. To the build up for that one would be something else.
Yeah, he's been teasing Leon Edwards. He wants some of that. That's the domino effect that this guy has, man. First things first, let's see him fight in 2024.